All right, Ultimate Hoops Nation. I'm here with Sonny and Aaron. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. The midnight edition. Are you staying awake?
Barely.
All right, let's get to it. Before we get into everything, let's talk MVPs. We ended up with 5 of them. Jake gave, I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. He was MVP last year. He's pretty much matched his stats in both Bloomington, South, and Fridley this year. He's top 10, I think, maybe even top 5.
Both his teams have first round buys.
Yeah, so. Yeah, that speaks for itself. Chris Maher, another one. The Gorillas were 8-0, number 1 seed. He's probably the biggest reason why he's having a stellar season out in Bloomington.
I feel there's one other factor on that team that has also helped rebound Fridley's team that we got on the list too, with Bryant Marmol. He's been on fire lately, who helped rout the Rebels on that 40-50 point win. Yep. And been carrying off constantly, and now that Ryan Samuelson's back, that'll help. So
yeah, I mean, when Off constantly was showing up with 5 people, Marmol was
4-4.
He was 4-4. I think it was 2 weeks ago. He almost brought them. They were down by like 15, and he was almost single-handedly brought them back. So got Marmol, Billy Elwell, 3 ballers, and who else did he play for?
Gorillas.
And the Gorillas. I think at Fridley he's averaging or almost averaging a triple-double. He's just put up ridiculous stats this season.
I mean, his Fridley team has had tough matchups with top teams, but then he's also had some lower-bottom teams to boost those stats.
And then our last candidate, Devin Sensrud. You could see what he meant to Malice tonight. He wasn't here tonight. Doesn't show up. Malice loses by, I think, 12 or something to the Pigeons, who before tonight you thought was going to be one of those bubble teams getting into the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, MVPs come through in different ways. So with Devin missing the day, he actually made a crucial decision and got Malice the easiest route in the tournament if they can pull off I believe it's the second win, which is, I forgot what's maybe it's Goodfellas. I think it's Goodfellas. I think
so. They got an easy road. So on to the good and the bad and the ugly this week. Good. The Pigeons beat Malice, and instead of being a 22-24 seed, they're I think 15, 13, 15.
Just missed the cut for top 12. We debated them all night. Couldn't knock them down. They're easily the single last of the 5-3 teams, and we even tried knocking them below a 4-4, but it couldn't work. Reed's happy, but he's come to reality that his season ends there. Yeah, Reed liked saying that the Pigeons were a marquee win for the first season ever. Yeah.
So, last night in Bloomington South, the Muskies beat Smash in overtime, like 64-63. The Muskies, they started out 5-0. 5-0. They lost 2 in a row. Big Smash would have been their third loss. They ended up winning an OT. Seeding wise, that game was big for them too.
Yeah, and Juniors came out clear as day. Their strategy was to go at our big man. We were Iron 5. So, I mean, eventually he's going to get tired chasing between Casey, Mitch, and I can't say it. Hi. There you go. And it was just a tough matchup. We battled back. Arsenio, Mike, I believe, had 5 steals apiece. Just to narrow the gap, we sent it to overtime and had an unfortunate foul call that ended the game with Casey making free throws.
Gorillas finishing 8-0 is obviously a big feat. But I don't think – I know they've been 8-0 before, and I know they've had the number 1 seed before, but I don't think they've ever won the championship when they've been the number 1 seed or 8-0. Can they do it this season?
No. It's tough to go. They're the single team that's 8-0. They have one of the tougher routes in the playoffs. They have I believe, easy first game, but then they have Bulls North first game, who now has Roderick Powell, who's probably, now that he's back, top 3 in Fridley. Then they have either Bulls South or the Celtics, which isn't a good turn. Mm-hmm. And if they can get past there is when they'll get easier for them.
Yeah, and the Bulls teams, like, you talk about Rod Paul, but Wiskins hasn't been here the last few weeks, and come playoff time,
Antoine's back, so you never know what Gino may pull out. Like, he's on the roster, so you can't count him out.
Then we had, 2 newer teams, Blazers and the Malice. Blazers get the number 2 seed, Malice the number 4 seed. That's pretty damn good for newer teams.
Yeah, put together by Devin and Jake, I believe, for the Blazers. Yep. They put that together and built some pieces around them. Have Abdi, who's a solid mid-range shooter. Complements Jake and Devin pulling the defense off if they help. They got a knockdown shooter. Then for Malice, it's just a surprise. It's a surprise. Like, you have Briggs and Helmy, who on any other team play maximum of 25 minutes. Then you have
Q
and Devin. And Calvin. That's the other thing. Like, you have Q and Calvin, and they're both ball-dominant point guards. And they don't like to give it up until they know it's a for-sure basket. So it's just funny to see that team meshed and got to a 6-2 standing.
On to the bad. Your Celtics, after starting 5-0, like the Muskies, you lose 3 in a row. Tonight's game versus 5-5 was a tough one. You guys lost by a point on a block charge call by, you could guess who, but Ronnie Kennedy, a block charge call. After looking at the tape, it was a charge. Sorry, it was a block. What's up with the Celtics?
So first, shout out to Ronnie. Good friend, good friend. He got it right. But all I have to say is I had Wednesday and Thursday that had 2 overtime games that I lost by 1, both by the guy shooting free throws on his call. And we've lost, and it's always been him. Like, now, Wednesday night, Casey's little push, shove to get the rebound and flip back up, that was more of the iffy. Now, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on this one. That was a block. At first glance, like, as I look at it, bang, bang, it was like, as a teammate, I look, no. And then, like, as I walked away, thought about it, I was like, yeah, he was moving. So
actually, when I was filming it, I thought it was pretty close because I didn't really, see him shuffling his feet. But as you'll see, the highlight to be playing, he was just jumping forward the whole time. I think if he would have stood there, I don't know if Izzy still would have ran into him. But
I feel like the video from the angle is tough because there's a body because he stopped for a split second and beat Izzy to the spot. And he stopped, but he leaned back already instead of just taking the hit and taking the charge, or even just stand up and make a tough shot over him. Because, at least that way, it's making them beat you and not making the ref make that tough call.
Last night, the Squids were 2-5. They played the Crusaders, which, for their last game, that's a winnable game for them. They were up, I think, about 90% of the game, and they end up losing it. They would have been 3-5, would have had a shot at making it tonight, which would have been a big accomplishment. Brandon said they were going to win. But, yeah, it hurts to be up by, they were up most of the game. I think at one point they were up by, 14 over the Crusaders, and they let it slip.
Just got to hold on. It's just the players on the team not used to playing with a lead and playing their normal game, and you have to adjust to the game. And if they're pressing you because they're down 10-15 with 5 minutes left, you got to slow it down and take smarter shots, not just force up the first thing you see.
And then your team Bloomington South, big smash. You lose to the Muskies. We've kind of covered that one. But Greg and Glenn, I don't think I've seen them miss this many games. What's up with them?
Okay, so at the beginning of the season, Greg told me he was going to miss 1 week. That has turned into multiple. Glenn let us know about his job change, so he's working overnight. So depending on the game time, he has to work. I know this past week they were in Miami, so flights were supposed to be back in yesterday. So they better be here Tuesday night for the playing games. So no excuse.
So if you had them last night, just theoretically speaking, do you guys beat the Muskies?
Yes, because they wouldn't be able to exploit Kurt for 47 minutes, which was tough. All they did was screen and pop. So it was just tough. Junius wouldn't shoot the ball. I don't know what was up with that, but
the ugly. I don't think there's been a season for a while that the Red Devils didn't make the playoffs. I know that I think they had a few work conflicts, injuries, or what, but that's a good team that missed the playoffs.
Yeah, I would say the ugly. Red Devils missing the playoffs. The Broncos' return was ugly. 1-7, and it's not like they pieced together all brand new pieces. This is a team that, I know they've had Jake. I think they had Jake for 2 seasons. They slimmed out the roster, so no Calvin, no Adam Kidd. But this team they play with, chemistry's not an excuse. 1-7 is just wacky. Them sneaks in at 3-5 after a bad season. After they complain about having a harder schedule, they get it, and they've actually hung in there the previous seasons. But this season they just couldn't cut it. It looked like back in the Rogue Nation, DY Nasty days. Didn't look good.
Yeah, the Broncos is another team. Like you asked me what season they didn't make the playoffs, I probably couldn't name one.
Not since their jerseys. I guess now it's time for new jerseys.
All right, guys. Anything else?
I heard
Final thoughts?
Yeah, I heard the Timberwolves, with their number 1 pick, are going to pick an Ultimate Hoops player from the Minnesota Rec. Yeah. Maybe it can take Rubio's spot.
Yeah. You heard it here first. We'll see you guys next week.